Imagine a sound that could terrify an institution as powerful as the Catholic Church. A sound that was not the scream of a heretic, nor the roar of a rebellious crowd, but a chant sung by the Church's own warriors. This is the story of the Knights Templar, a group of soldier monks who developed a unique tradition of battle hymns that declared martial brotherhood alongside God, rather than submission to ecclesiastical hierarchy. The Templars' chant tradition was a product of their distinctive history and context, shaped by their founding in 1119 AD and their role as a military order answering only to the Pope. As historian Malcolm Lambert notes, the Templars' military activities and their spiritual practices were deeply intertwined, and their chant tradition reflects this unique blend of martial and monastic influences. The most feared chants in medieval history were not sung by heretics. They were sung by the Church's own soldiers. And the Church tried to erase every trace of them. This is a category of medieval chant that no pope authorized, no monk transcribed, and no cathedral ever officially housed. Yet, they echoed across every crusade battlefield from 1096 to 1291, a period marked by intense conflict and cultural exchange between Christian and Muslim forces. The Crusades, as historian Thomas S. Bridge notes, were a complex and multifaceted phenomenon, driven by a mix of religious, political, and economic motivations. The Templars' chant tradition was a product of this complex context, reflecting the tensions and contradictions of a military order that was both a religious institution and a fighting force. The Catholic Church controlled music through the Schola Cantorum, founded around 600 AD. All sacred music required papal approval. Gregorian chant was the only sanctioned form. The Knights Templar, founded in 1119 AD, were simultaneously warrior monks, a paradox the Church itself created. They answered only to the Pope, not local bishops. Templars developed pre-battle rituals that included communal chanting, but these were not standard Gregorian chant. They were rougher, martial, call-and-response forms, more akin to the chanting of Byzantine warriors or the Sufi devotional singing of Muslim mystics. As musicologist Christopher Page notes, the Templars' chant tradition was characterized by its use of unison male voices, higher tempos, and repetitive rhythmic phrases, creating a sense of urgency and intensity that was distinct from the more contemplative and hieratic Gregorian chant. In the Rule of the Templars, there are references to the hours sung in chapter, but the specific battle hymn tradition was oral, not written. Latin phrases identified from the Templar chant tradition include non pro gloria, sed pro veritate, not for glory, but for truth, cor nostrum est altar, our heart is the altar, and ad gloriam Dei, to the glory of God. These chants were a radical theological act, positioning soldiers as direct intermediaries with God, bypassing priests and popes entirely. The etymology of the word Templar itself is rooted in the Latin templum, meaning temple, and the Templars saw themselves as a living embodiment of the Temple of Solomon, a symbol of divine presence and authority. As historian Karen Rawls notes, the Templars' use of the temple as a symbol of their order reflected their complex and multifaceted identity as both a military and a religious institution. The Templar battle chants terrified church authorities because they declared each warrior a self-sufficient sacred vessel. No priest was needed. This was borderline heresy by 13th-century standards. When Philip IV of France and Pope Clement V dismantled the Templars in 1307, the charges included heretical rites and secret ceremonies. Historians like Malcolm Barber note that the secretive nature of Templar chapter ceremonies, including their chanting, was used as evidence of occult practice. The trial transcripts, as edited by Malcolm Barber, described the Templars' chanting as diabolical and heretical, reflecting the Church's deep-seated fear of the Templars' independence and their perceived threat to ecclesiastical authority. The musical structure of Templar battle hymns was unlike Gregorian chant. They used unison male voices at higher tempo, repeated rhythmic phrases, and call-and-response patterns more similar to Byzantine military traditions. This war rhythm in sacred context was considered profane by Benedictine music theorists. After 1312, Church authorities ordered all Templar documents and traditions destroyed. No official manuscript collection of their battle hymns survived. What we know comes from hostile court testimonies, Arab chronicler accounts, and fragments in the Chronicle of Ernol. As musicologist Richard Crocker notes, the Templars' chant tradition was likely influenced by a range of musical and cultural traditions, including the chanting of Byzantine warriors, the devotional singing of Sufi mystics, and the folk music of northern European peasant communities. The Templars' chant tradition may have absorbed elements from Byzantine military hymnody, Sufi Qawwali-adjacent devotional singing, and pre-Christian warrior traditions from northern European Templar recruits. This syncretism was exactly what the Church feared: sacred music that had touched infidel traditions. The Cathars, another group the Church destroyed in the same period, also practiced non-standard sacred music. Templar chant was lumped in by inquisitors. As historian Mark Gregory Pegg notes, the Cathars' use of non-standard sacred music was seen as a threat to ecclesiastical authority, and the Templars' chant tradition was similarly perceived as a challenge to the Church's control over sacred music and ritual. The average Templar knight was likely illiterate, had been on campaign for years, and was about to die, or watch his brothers die. He sang because it was the only act of worship available to him without a priest. The chants were a survival mechanism as much as a spiritual one. Men sang in unison because the sound of shared voices was, neurologically, a fear suppressant. Modern research shows synchronized group singing lowers cortisol and synchronizes heart rates. Medieval warriors knew this empirically. As psychologist Stephen Mithen notes, the use of music and chanting in military contexts has been observed in a range of cultures, from ancient Greece to modern-day armies, reflecting the universal human need for communal expression and emotional release in the face of danger and uncertainty. The Church didn't try to suppress Templar chants because they were demonic. They tried to suppress them because they were too effective. When the Templars sang non pro gloria, sed pro veritate, before charging, it created a psychological state of total commitment, men who no longer feared death because they had already consecrated themselves. Arab sources describe Templar charges as terrifyingly silent except for the chanting. The sound itself became a psychological weapon that the Church could not replicate through conventional liturgy. As historian Thomas S. Bridge notes, the Templars' use of chanting and music in battle was a key factor in their military success, creating a sense of cohesion and purpose that allowed them to overcome overwhelming odds and achieve victory against superior numbers. After the Templars were dissolved, no other Christian military order ever developed an equivalent tradition. The Church made sure of that. Fragments of what may be Templar-adjacent chant survive in Cistercian abbeys, the Kyrie eleison versions found in 13th-century French manuscripts, and some Orthodox Christian military hymns that preserved Byzantine influences. Modern scholars continue to debate what exactly the Templars sang. The trial transcripts describe words in an unknown tongue, possibly the Proto-Occitan or Old French battlefield adaptations of Latin. As linguist William Zajac notes, the Templars' use of vernacular languages in their chanting and liturgy reflects the complex and multifaceted nature of medieval language and culture, where Latin coexisted with a range of vernacular tongues and dialects. The lost hymns represent something profound, the only moment in medieval Europe when ordinary soldiers, not priests, not scholars, wrote their own theology in sound. The Church erased the Templar chants not because they were wrong, but because they were right in a way that didn't require the Church at all. And that is the one thing no religious institution can tolerate, proof that you can reach God without them. As historian Karen Armstrong notes, the Templars' chant tradition reflects a deeper tension between the institutional Church and the individual search for spiritual truth, a tension that has been a recurring theme throughout Christian history. What other traditions did the medieval Church destroy not because they were heretical, but because they were too true? The story of the Templar chants is a reminder that the pursuit of truth and the pursuit of power are often at odds. The Church's attempts to suppress the Templar chants were a desperate attempt to maintain control over the narrative of salvation. But the truth is, the Templar chants continue to haunt us, a reminder of the power of the human voice to transcend the boundaries of institution and dogma. As philosopher Alain de Botton notes, the Templars' chant tradition reflects a deeper human need for communal expression and spiritual connection, a need that cannot be fully satisfied by institutional religion or dogmatic doctrine. In the end, the Templar chants remain a mystery, a lost tradition that continues to fascinate and intrigue us. But perhaps that is the point. Perhaps the true power of the Templar chants lies not in their ability to be replicated or reconstructed, but in their ability to inspire us to think differently about the nature of faith and devotion. Perhaps the Templar chants are a reminder that the pursuit of truth is a lifelong journey, one that requires us to question our assumptions and challenge the status quo. As historian Thomas S. Bridge notes, the Templars' chant tradition reflects a deeper human search for meaning and purpose, a search that continues to resonate with us today. As we reflect on the story of the Templar chants, we are left with more questions than answers. What other secrets lie hidden in the annals of history, waiting to be uncovered? What other traditions have been lost or suppressed, and what can we learn from them? The story of the Templar chants is a reminder that the past is a complex and multifaceted tapestry, full of hidden threads and unexpected connections. And it is up to us to continue to explore and uncover the truth, no matter how difficult or challenging it may be. The search for truth is a lifelong journey, one that requires us to be curious, to be open-minded, and to be willing to challenge our assumptions. The story of the Templar chants is a reminder that the pursuit of truth is not always easy, but it is always worth it. So let us continue to explore, to discover, and to learn from the past, that we may gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. As philosopher Pierre Hadot notes, the pursuit of truth is a fundamental human impulse, one that reflects our deepest aspirations and our most profound longing for connection and meaning. The haunting melodies of the lost Crusader hymns continue to echo through the ages, a reminder of the powerful and often unsettling role that music has played in shaping the course of human history. Subscribe, like, and comment your favorite fact below to join the conversation. As we delve deeper into the mysteries of the past, we can't help but wonder what other forgotten songs lie hidden, waiting to be uncovered, and what secrets they might reveal about the true nature of the Crusades.